This video is brought to you by All Parts. All Parts is celebrating over 40 years of delivering premium tools for tone. Upgrade your rig today at allparts.com.
Hey everybody, Dave Helmer here with Helmer's How-Tos with Premier Guitar here in the shop in Iowa City. Today we're going to be looking at two guitars and discuss neck relief, truss rod adjustment. We have this Telecaster where the truss rod is maybe tightened a little too much. The neck is into a back bow. In the first position it's a little buzzy. We're also going to look at an Ibanez hollow body that's bone stock that has a lot of relief in it and it's playing poorly in the upper register. Things to look at, how to sight the neck, how to adjust the neck. And yeah, we're going to look at that and you'll be able to get your guitars playing great in no time. Alright everybody, so on this Telecaster, currently, you know, up here in the upper register it's playing pretty good. But down here in the first position, you know, that's not going to work for most players. It's too buzzy. So what's going on here, if you sight the neck, I always turn the guitar on its side and look at it because you play it in this position. So you might as well look at it in this position. If you close your left eye and just sight down the edge of the board, if there's a rosewood board and there's a glue line, you can follow that glue line and that'll give you what's going on with the neck as well, as far as a visual reference. This neck is back bowed. So what that means is, over here at the nut end, the truss rod has been over tightened, or when the humidity rises, a lot of necks back bow as they absorb moisture. This one though is doing this, to where down here at the nut it's falling away. So what we're going to want to do is relieve the truss rod. If you don't know how to do that, look up that information and learn how to do it. It's very easy, very simple. Every guitar player should know how to do it. So with the made in Mexico Fender stuff, the truss rod adjustment is 3/16 of an inch. The American made Fenders are 1/8 of an inch usually. You can use the string as a straight edge and you can see the neck is straight. There's no relief at all. Another thing that you can do if you want to buy the nice notch straight edge, you know, you can actually put it on the fingerboard. This goes over the frets. And then you can look at it. And you can, in the middle it's touching, and on the outside, down here by the nut and up here at the treble side, there's gap. And you can, you know, kind of hear it rocking. So from here on, the neck is very straight. From 1 to 4, 1 to 5, it's falling away from us. It's back bowed. So we're going to want to turn the truss rod counterclockwise to relieve the rod, to let the strings pull a little bit more on the neck. What we want is a gradual curve in the neck. So you can get the Fender truss rod wrenches. These work great. I'm just going to use a regular 3/16 for this one. We're going to back off the D string and the G string. What you're going to want to do is just so they get out of your way, you know, so you don't have to mess the strings up too bad. So then we're going to put the 3/16 wrench in there. Make sure you have the right fitting wrench for the guitar you're working on. We're going to turn it counterclockwise. So that's a 1/4 turn, or 1/8 of a turn, another 1/8 of a turn. You may hit the strings and you may have to replace them if they get dinged up, but not a huge deal. Just do the best you can. So go ahead and retune that up. Okay, so we relieve the rod. Now we're going to look again at the truss rod adjustment. I'm just going to sight it there real quick with using the string as a straight edge. I'm going to go ahead and look at it again. Just that little bit of counterclockwise motion on the truss rod, relieving it, made a huge difference. I have a little bit of gap here. As you hear, there's no more buzz. Still rips up top though. But yeah, now we have a gradual curve. So before it was over tightened, a little bit of backbone, now we have a gradual curve. We'll go ahead and show you on camera what just occurred too, so you can visualize it. So, okay, so we relieved the truss rod. We turned the rod counterclockwise, relieving the truss rod, allowing the string pull to pull a little bit on the neck and give us a gradual curve on this Telecaster, as opposed to straight, and then back bow here at the nut end. The action was a 1/16 of an inch at the 17th fret before we made our truss rod adjustment. And now looking at the action is a 32nd of an inch high now. So you don't want to think of the truss rod as an action adjustment move. It's just talking about relief. We're just dealing with how straight the neck is. The action adjustment is taken care of at the bridge. So on the regular, when dealing with truss rod adjustments, it's a balancing act between adjusting the truss rod, changing the action. You know, you want the bottom of the strings to match the radius of the board, and you just want to go back and forth with that. Relief can be anywhere from no relief, a dead straight neck, all the way up to 12 thousandths of relief, depending on how level the frets are, how well the fret job was, and the condition of the board, the flatness, straightness of it. And you just want to go back and forth with those things and dial it in for you. This is all personal preference, personal feel. You're playing lighter strings, heavier strings, low tuning. All of that's great. But at the end of the day, the whole ball game is how straight can you get the neck, and how low can you get the action, and how comfortable is it for you to deliver, you know, your message to the world. You can use the feeler gauges to see how much relief is in your neck. This one's 5 thousandths of an inch thick. You know, this one's 2, very skinny. I have an 11 sitting here. And, you know, if you want to check how straight the neck is, I always put a cape off the first fret, put the guitar on its edge. Since I measure the 17th fret for string action on a Fender style guitar, that's where I'll put my finger to hold the low E string down. You'll take your feeler gauge and you'll go around 7th to 9th fret. I'm going to do the 8th fret. And you just want to get the feeler gauge in between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string. And you don't want it to move. You can kind of hear that. So this 5 thousandths of an inch feeler gauge is rubbing against the string. So the neck is very straight. It's not backbowed anymore. But you could introduce more relief if you wanted to. That may affect the string action again, and you have to lower that. So just food for thought to think about. Happy rocking. All right, moving on to a Gibson style guitar. This guitar is the Gibson scale, which standard Gibson scale is 24 3/4 inches. Fender scale is 25.5 usually. This neck has a lot of relief in it, so there's a lot of bow in the neck. The last instrument we looked at was backbowed. This one has a lot of relief. You come up here and play, you know, up down here it's good. But if you come up here to the upper register, that actually chokes out. So that's all solvable with the truss rod. We're going to turn the truss rod clockwise, tightening it. That's going to pull the middle of the board closer to the strings. And then we're probably going to have to do an action adjustment here because the string action is where it should be with too much relief, and that's why we have all that clankiness. So yeah, we're sitting here about 1/16 of an inch on both sides. So when tightening the rod, you do want to back the string tension off. So we'll go ahead and move the strings out the way. Now this guitar is a 4mm adjustment. Some of them are 5. You just gotta, you know, find the right one. So take the cover off. Get it in there, make sure it's the right fit. We're gonna turn it clockwise, tightening the rod. Now that it's catching, you just want to do a couple of turns. And then you're going to string it back up to pitch and see where you're at. Sometimes the wrench can give you a little bit tough to get out, but we'll go ahead and set the strings back, and we're going to retune it, and we'll check the neck relief and see where we're sitting. So now the neck is straighter. We backed off the truss rod. Again, this is a double acting one, so you can force it in both directions. Now we have a straight neck, but now the strings are laying on the frets. So as you can hear, it's not even, you know, everywhere on the neck. So with the strings laying on the fingerboard like that, you know, what do we have to do? We're gonna have to raise the bridge up. So you can just back these off a hair if you want to. I just do it for good form and try to alleviate breaking the strings. So you're gonna want to get a flathead screwdriver that fits the height adjustment screws here, and you're gonna turn these counterclockwise to raise them up. I always just set my hand next to it just in case you slip. You can put a towel down. Okay, so now we raise the action a little bit. We'll go ahead and retune and then see where we're sitting. So we straighten the neck out. We had too much relief. We turn the truss rod nut clockwise. We tighten the rod, straightening the neck out. Now I'm looking at it. We got a pretty straight neck here. And I'm checking the action. And the action's still a little bit low on the treble side, so go ahead and raise that up a little bit more. On a Gibson style guitar, the Gibson numbers say at the 15th fret with the proper amount of relief. You know, 364s on the treble, 564s on the bass. I split the difference and I just go a 1/16 of an inch, just because I have found that that's just for playability, that's good. So I'll go ahead and raise that up. I'll raise the bass head a skosh too. And then retune. So very basic process here. Close enough in tune. Now we're checking it. Yeah, we're just over 1/16 on the bass side. And we're at a 1/16 on the treble. So that's okay. It's still feels a little bit buzzy down there, but up here feels pretty good. No longer choking like it was before, and that's good. So now the neck is straight. So just like the last guitar, we're gonna back off the truss rod a little bit. Like I said before, when you're backing the rod off, turning it counterclockwise, you don't need to, if the truss rod's working really nice, you don't need to necessarily take the strings off. Just do your best not to hit them. So a little 1/8 of a turn there, and then we'll check the relief. And now we got a little bit of relief. And you know, down in the first position, it's clean. In the middle of the board, it's clean. Up top, it's clean. Okay, so we've adjusted the truss rod. This guitar started with a lot of relief. It has a dual acting truss rod, so if you keep turning it counterclockwise, you can force it into as much bow as you want. And turning it clockwise, tightening it, you can put quite a bit of backbone in it. So we're just trying to find a gradual curve to clear the frets and play cleanly and play in tune. So this one had a lot of relief. We adjusted it to where it was real straight, so then we backed it off a little bit to add a little bit of curve in it. And then once we straightened the neck out, we discovered that the action was too low. So all that relief was affecting the action, you know. Again, the truss rod is not an action adjustment, it's a neck relief adjustment. The bridge is the action adjustment. So then we raise the bridge up to where we're at a good height. It's playing clean down there. Playing clean in the middle. Up top it's playing clean. So if you remember, it was very clanky, you know, up top. So now it's playing clean. And the next thing to do would be to set your intonation, get your pickup height set, and you're off to the races. All right, hey, to wrap up, once again, my name's Dave Helmer. Helmer Guitars here in Iowa City. We're here with Premier Guitar today. And we looked at how to adjust truss rods and why and what we're looking for. So we started with a Telecaster that had a backbowed neck. We turned the head of the truss rod counterclockwise to relieve that. and then we had this Ibanez here that had a lot of relief in the neck, and we loosen the strings, turn the rod clockwise, the head clockwise, getting the proper amount of curve into the fingerboard we needed. So a guitar player should know how to adjust their truss rod. What action is going to give you what result. You want to know and understand what you're doing there. So just look that information up. There's tons of information online about that. You should know how to tighten loose hardware, how to raise and lower pickups, how to raise and lower string action, how to set the intonation. This is all just very basic mechanical stuff. Tons of info about it is all over the place online, and in books and stuff. Just keep practicing it. If currently you don't feel confident in your abilities to perform some of those tasks, you don't have to spend $2,000 on a guitar. You can get $100 to $600, $800 instrument, and you can practice adjustments on those. All the adjustments are similar, whether the guitar is expensive or not. So you can gain the skills. You really got to crank on a truss rod to break it. Don't be afraid of it. Just loosen the strings when adjusting it. And, if you have any issues, go see your local repair person. Get them to help you. So I hope you find this helpful. Again, we're doing these how-tos just to help the guitar players out there that are playing gigs on the regular. You're a hobbyist. You got a band you play with, once a month, once every couple weeks, We're just trying to help everybody just be able to do some basic adjustments, at your house to keep your guitars, playing well and everything. So don't forget to subscribe to Premier Guitar's YouTube channel so you can be notified when they have new videos out. And have a great one. Thanks so much, everybody. Okay, so I want to discuss a little bit about raising the string action and the fingerboard radius. So radius is half of diameter, right? So we have this roll of tape, the whole thing, the whole circle is a diameter, half of it's the radius, right? So a fingerboard is essentially just this top half cut off, and that's your fingerboard right up here. That'd be your fingerboard curve. That's the illustration I'm trying to show you. So that being said, if the string is in a straight line with the center of the fingerboard, you can have a pretty good low action and a straight neck, and you won't get any buzzing. Pretty much all fingerboards are tapered. They're narrower at the nut, and they're a little wider at the end by the neck pickup. So that means that the two outside strings, the E and the A and the B and the E, they're going to go outward. So they're no longer going to be in line with center. So that's why as you go outward, you're gonna have some buzzing because that curve is changing, So that's why you need some neck relief, and we adjust the action and just find that balance to where you like it. So again, what we're looking for is no relief all the way up to 12 thousandths of an inch of relief, curve in the neck, and a 1/16 of an inch at the 15th or 17th fret is a good starting point. If your frets are level, seated well, good fretwork has been done, you can have a straight neck and a low action. So if you have a guitar that has tons of neck relief and you straighten the neck out, a few days later you might find that you need to tighten it again because necks kind of take a set. Some necks are floppy, they're gummy, they're not stiff. And good stiff neck transfers energy better. Better energy transfer means better tone. So the truss rod also is not there to stiffen the neck necessarily. It's just there to control the amount of relief. So every guitar is different. Some guitars have a rubbery neck that just, you put a set of 10s on it and it bows like crazy and you gotta straighten it constantly. Some necks are very stiff, but the truss rod is just there so you have control over how straight your neck is. The next idea I want to present to you is sometimes when we're adjusting truss rods, you get the truss rod right where you want it. You check the relief, it's right where you want it. The nut's in good shape. Your string action is where you want it. And sometimes there's still buzzy frets. There's frets that are problematic and buzzy. You can go around the fingerboard with the fret rocker and you can look for high frets. This one's pretty all right. There's the high one right there. So the action is only as good as how level the fret plane is. So the fingerboard plane, the actual wood, we want that as straight as possible. And then the fret plane, we want as straight as possible as well. But sometimes they can both be varying degrees of straightness to each other. So if you have everything adjusted right and you can go around and you find those high frets, you know, you may want to have some fretwork done to make sure it's perfect. You know, whether that's seating a loose fret or just getting that fret sanded down and reshaped, recrowned, repolished. You know, that's just something to think about. If you want a clean, low action, your frets need to be in good shape, seated well, and level with each other, the length of the bore. So just one more thing to think about when adjusting those things. Up top, a lot of times these end of the boards on budget guitars, you know, they make sure that 1 through 12 are good to go, but a lot of times there's loose fret ends, high middle spots on frets on the extension. So you go up to play and you get some buzzing. You know, a lot of guitars can benefit from just leveling the last, you know, 7, 8 frets and just getting that leveled out, or even falling away. The fret plane, you can get that level to where just the fret plane falls away a little bit. Just the top of the frets is what we're talking about. Just so you have a clean action up high. You know, if you have a budget guitar and you have some buzzing going on up here and the neck relief is right, you know, maybe you have a warp in the board or something. You know, all guitars are different. There's a wide range of things that can happen. If you have some buzzing up here and you know the truss rod's adjusted right, you just have to raise the bridge, you know, until you're playing clean. And that may give you an action that, you know, you may not like. And that means maybe you want to have some fretwork done. In my experience, in situations like that where you're trying to avoid getting the frets worked on, having the fret level done, because you don't want to spend the money, a lighter set of strings and a stiffer action, if you can get it intonated, you know, the lighter string, set of 8s, set of 9s, you know, they're easier to play because they're lighter, so you can have a little stiffer action as long as you're intonated. So that might be something to try if you have a guitar that's having a little bit of buzzing. But nowadays, a lot of guitars are pretty good builds. You know, this was the heyday of all things affordable for guitar players, and they're putting out really great products. So for the most part, you should be able to adjust the rod, get the action set, get the intonation set. You should be good to go. So just some food for thought to put into your canon of tricks. So when checking for high frets and low frets alike, you know, StewMac has this fret rocker that's standard in the industry. Has 4 different length sizes. We have a long side for kind of this first position to check for high frets. You want to span 3 frets at a time and check for that sound. You know, if it sounds like this, you know, you should be okay. Once you have some rocking, you know that you have a high spot. You know, this second fret, this bass side's high. This treble side is either level or slightly low. You know, I wouldn't know without really looking at it closely, but for sure the bass side is a little bit high. And then, you know, you just use a different length side so you can always span 3 frets. This treble side on this 4th fret, definitely high. The bass side, definitely high. So that whole fret is high. So as you go up, you just keep rotating this around to span 3 frets at a crack. So, you know, just always stay on 3 frets. And then up here, you know, another high, you know, some more high frets up here. So just something you can get. These are everywhere too. You know, you don't have to buy the StewMac one. Those are all over the place. But that wouldn't be the worst thing for a guitar player to have. It's because if you know how to adjust your truss rod and get your relief set correctly, you know how to set your action, you know, you can check for high frets, and then you can, you know, walk in with, you know, an educated opinion when you're discussing this with your repair person who's going to perform the work, you know, for you. So you can say, I do have high frets, I checked. It's just good thing to have in your canon of tricks. So